I am so pleased to be back here. And by the way, I'm thinking about your son going to scout camp, and I'm an old eagle myself. And with all the good weather we've been having, it should be excellent snipe hunting. So very excited for him on that score. No, I'm so grateful to be back here at One World. This such an intimate, warm, welcoming community. It's always a place that I like to kind of dig deep and try something new with whatever I'm doing. And I appreciate people that are here in this room. I appreciate you all that are tuning in online. And as always, it's my goal to give you something that you can take home with you. Because investing 20 minutes of your time to listen to anybody, in my mind, is a big deal. So I appreciate that honor, and I always do my best to rise to it. And today, of course, I want to say Happy Father's Day, in particular, to all the fathers in the room, and and all the fathers tuning in at home, and Happy Father's Day to you as well, because of course we are all called to be our own parents, to be our own fathers, to be our own mothers, and to cultivate that relationship within ourselves as well. And if we haven't met, which would be a couple of y'all, and I don't know if I've met you or not. I've met the camera. But my name is Brian Perry. I'm a singer-songwriter, I'm an author, I'm a speaker, I'm a blogger, I'm a podcaster, I'm a guy who writes in the back of his car. I'm very, very focused. And like I said, it's an honor to be here. The talk title today is Family Reunion. The principal reason for that is when I got to the point where I knew it was important we had a talk title, I was getting ready for a family reunion. So I said, surely, over the course of a family reunion, something will come up that's worth talking about. I think that's possible. So, family reunion. And I often will share, I'm feeling a little naked without my guitar. I often will share a song when I'm doing a talk. Today I'm going to do something a little different. I'm going to be sharing a poem later on that I wrote, which is first for me to do that. That poem's called Except That I Do. The opening line is, I don't know what it is to parent, except that I do. And with the family reunion, it's interesting to me because I was talking to Richard Burdick from Unity North. We were having coffee earlier this week, and we were talking about the challenge of putting together a Father's Day talk. And he was saying, with family reunions are concerned, that it's such an important time of connecting to your through line. You know, that through line. We know that we're all one on a grand scheme. That's hard to get. But when the family reunion, you kind of connect with your sense of past. You connect with who you are now. You connect with the whispers of the future in a variety of ways. Everything from the kids to just your own sense of where you're going. It's a powerful time to connect to that through line and get a sense of your place in it all. We did our family reunion in a little town called Trumansburg, New York, which is just outside of Ithaca, New York. Outside of Ithaca. When you're outside of Ithaca, you're very small. And we did it there because it was the big city to a town called Candea that no longer exists, that my grandmother grew up in. And so we wanted to do this first big family reunion for this side of the family in the place that our matriarch, who passed away at the young age of 102 last year, we wanted to do the reunion where she had grown up. And it was so powerful to be there in these places, you know, these stories we've heard growing up. We had a picnic at the base of this falls that I can't remember the name of now, but we have a picture from the late 1800s of our family gathered in front of the falls at a picnic of their own. And my sister and I drove out to the homestead where my grandmother had grown up, but no longer exist. But the railroad tracks that she always told us about are there. And they lived right on these railroad tracks, and her dad would hop the train, not board the train, hop the train to take it as near to work as he could get, and hop the train to ride the rail back. And she and her mother have these great stories from the Great Depression, when she and her mom would make sandwiches and hand them out to what she called the hobos as they were riding the rail, and they passed in the backyard. So it was this really powerful time to connect to that through line, to connect to the past, to be thinking about where are we going as a family and how can we be stewards of that. But one of the challenges I find when I step into sort of these outlier events, you know, vacations like that, family reunions, holidays, what have you, is that even as I'm connecting to others in a way that I don't usually, I have a tendency to disconnect from me. And I think that that's a disservice to everybody involved. I was talking about this with some cousins of mine. What we did is we rented essentially a summer camp up there. And we were sitting on the porch of the cabin that I was staying in, on the last night of our stay, having a nightcap or several, and staying up far later than we ought to be at this stage of life, but making those kind of forever memories, you know. And one of my cousins was lamenting. She's like, "I'm so bummed that we don't have any more time," because the first day just kind of felt like an icebreaker. You know, we were kind of just getting to know each other. And I said, it did feel like that, but to me it felt more like it wasn't just that I was trying to get to know you, it was that I was trying to get to know how to be me with you. Like, how do I not somehow compromise myself when I'm showing up to you? I find in these outlier moments, I have a tendency to either show up defensive, like, you're not like me, so I'm going to protect me while I'm here, or I have a tendency to show up overly sanitized, you know, where it's just, everything's great. It's cocktail party talk all the time, you know, and I don't want to do that. I was like, you know, that's to me the icebreaker moment is how can I show up more fully as me with you? Whether it's one of these outlier moments or whether it's in my regular life, at work, with my relationships, with my family. How do I do that? And so it got me focused on changing how we're seeing ourselves, changing how we're seeing others by changing how we're being ourselves. And I don't mean manipulating yourself to become something for somebody else. I mean the opposite. How would it impact how I see you if I'm showing up more fully as me? I don't know what it is to parent, except that I do. It's interesting to me because at reunions, I've been to many of them now. This was the first for this side of the family, but there's always the same characters that show up in some form or another. There's like the super exercise guy or woman, you know, who right around the time I'm just rolling out of bed to have my cup of coffee, they're coming running in, having just finished their 6-mile run, and they're drinking their energy kale water, and they're all energized. They're the guy who's like super fired up about being at the reunion, you know, and he's wearing his reunion t-shirt the whole time. He just every day, the reunion t-shirt's on. He's everywhere we go. You know, there's the kids. Oh, there's the kids. I mean, the kids are they're having these massive adventures. They're mischievous. They're magical. They light up rooms and they burn the room down. I mean, they're just amazing, bouncing around. And I had a side note, by the way. I was helping one of my I guess cousins, but like nephew size, fish, because he couldn't cast, but he could reel. So I was casting for him. And at one point he turns to one of his cousins and he goes, "Hey Colin, come here." And his little cousin runs up and he says, and Colin runs away. And I was like, hey, Sam, where'd Colin go? Oh, he just went inside for me. Just went inside for me. About 5 minutes later, Colin comes back with a fistful of cookies. and then Sam had this Sophie's Choice moment because he couldn't reel and eat a cookie at the same time. So it was hilarious. But anyway, there's the kids, there's the people that are the guys who's super successful and just dialed in to his or her life, you know. And everybody's just like, wow, we're so proud of you. There's the guy who's not, who's kind of hasn't found his or her lane yet. I have been typecast in this on more than one occasion. And there's the person that's kind of taken a hit to their health and is dealing with some infirmity, some challenge. There's the early riser, there's the night owl, there's the person who's trying to control all the details and make everything perfect. They're all there. And it occurs to me that they're all me. They're all here, too. Which makes it all the more reason for me to show up well to the family reunion. As Maya Angelou told us, and many wise souls have said over millennia, but she most recently talked a lot about there's nothing human that I am not. And so when I look around at these people, maybe I'm not going through what they're going through. Maybe I'm not there right now, but I could be. And so it calls me to a different kind of compassion, a different kind of acceptance. I don't know what it is to parent, except that I do. I was having a conversation with a friend earlier this week, and we were talking about kids and how sometimes we talk about kids, how we let kids these days kind of thing, you know. I don't know why the risks they take, the things they do, the way they behave, and it's like we've forgotten that we were kids. Like we've forgotten that we were once children. Let's not pretend that we weren't children. And to my mind, I went, yeah, well, let's not pretend that we're not children. It's on my resume. I was a child. I like things that are on my resume. When I've learned a skill set at a job, I'm going to tell you all about how I know how to do that because I've done that before. When I've been to a place, I'm going to tell you, oh yeah, I've been there. It's great. Did you try that cafe that over down on Main Street? I'm going to tell you all about it. It's on my resume. So why pretend that it's not? Why pretend that it's not a part of me? Maybe it's not where I am. Maybe it's not even where I'm going to be. But it could be. It's part of who I am, so it calls me to a different kind of acceptance, a different kind of compassion. I don't know what it is to parent, except that I do. Yeah, so I brought my hula hoop again. I can't get away from the silly prop, but it's the most powerful tool that I have in my possession at the moment to direct my attention and yours to my point of power. To my, now I'm adding the spin. I don't know what this is. You thought something was going to happen there, didn't you? No, I wasn't ramping up to anything. I was fidgeting. Very, very ADD. By the way, I was speaking in Chattanooga, and apparently there's a specific order you're supposed to put these in. And I did not know that. And somebody stopped me in the middle of talk because it was driving them bonkers that they weren't in the right order. But now I know, because yellow and blue make green. In what was it? Green?
No.
Shoot. Maybe I did it wrong again.
No, that's right.
Where the yeah, yellow and red make orange. See, this is why I didn't know. I had to pull up the picture. I took a picture of it. I had to pull up the picture before I made it. Anyway, reason I carry this around is it directs my attention to my domain, to the only place in the world in which I actually dwell, to the only place in the world in which I actually have power. Where my thoughts, my words, my deeds, they only live here. This is it. This is the ballgame. This is my whole experience of life, is right here. Pain flows through here. Joy flows through here. Everything about my life happens here. It's where I respond to it. This is where it happens. It doesn't happen with you. It doesn't happen with anybody else at that reunion. It's all happening in here. So I'm called to ask the question, what is mine to do in these icebreaker moments? Where I'm wanting to show up more fully to you as me. What is mine to do within this? How do I claim that power? I heard this quote earlier this week from Edward Everett Hale, who evidently is a Unitarian minister and an author from the late 19th century, early 20th century. I heard it on Blue Bloods. I thought it was a great quote. And I immediately wrote it down. It says, I am only one. But still I am one. I cannot do everything, but still I can do something. And because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do. Because I cannot do everything, I will not refuse to do the something that I can do. I don't know what it is to parent, except that I do. I can't ever decide what this is. Is it a metaphor, an analogy? It's a way of looking at things that I go back to over and over and over again to try and help me figure out how to better show up to my loved ones, particularly on days like today's. Because our relationships with our Father, they're not simple. Those aren't simple relationships. There's a lot there to unpack. I looked at you, John. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to put you on the spot there. But there's this notion of don't go to the hardware store for milk. Don't go to the hardware store for milk. How does that go? You walk in. Hey, how you doing? Welcome in, sir. Hey, where's the milk? We don't have milk. Okay, so but what I find 2% on? No. So we don't carry milk. Right, but I need to find where the milk is in the milk. Milk? I'm looking for milk. We don't have, I need to talk to your supervisor. Where's the milk? Like it just escalates to this thing where you're just butting heads, and the reality is you're in the wrong store. They don't sell milk. And the way this plays out in life is maybe your father, for instance, is a hardware store, and maybe you're a metaphysical bookstore. And you try to show up at the metaphysical bookstore, and you bump into each other, and you lash out at each other, and it's not because you don't have things to offer, it's because you're not granting that you do. See, here's what's happening for me. What I seek is what is mine to give. What I want is to be accepted. What I want is to be loved, right? Yeah, I want to be accepted. I want to be loved. I want to be liked. I want to be accepted, but I want to be accepted for who I am. I want to be accepted for who I am on a core level. I want to be accepted for the store that I am. Well, what I most seek is what is mine to give. And don't worry, we're going to talk about you got to make sure you get your milk. Yes, of course you do. You got to get your milk. You don't deny your need for milk. You just approach the hardware store differently. I don't know what it is to parent, except that I do. There was this prayer that I offered up during the reunion every morning. And as an aside, when you have outlier moments, whether it's a family reunion or vacation or a holiday or what have you, when you have these moments, don't surrender what you know takes care of you, the things you know from your daily routine that you've cultivated that help you stay centered, stay in the hulu. You don't want to live out here when you're at your outlier moments. You don't want to be kind of in your hulu. You want to be in your power. And I'm talking about if you know there's certain things that you need to eat that help you, do that. If you know there's a certain amount of sleep that's useful, get that. If you know that praying is useful, if you know all these different things, you might not be able to do them in the same way that you do them normally on a normal day, but you can still do them to some extent. And to that end, I made it a point when I was at this reunion to get up every morning a little bit earlier so that I could do some of the things that I need to do. Not in the way I always do them, but to a certain extent. Got to do a little meditating, do a little praying, make sure I got my coffee, just take care of myself, get myself dialed in to my power, to what's mine to do. And then I offered a prayer. And the prayer was to make me a great listener today, to help me be compassionate, to help me be allowing, to help me be accepting, to help me be curious. Because the curious piece to me is the key. Do I get slapped down in my vulnerability or do I shift? When I reach out to the hardware stores in my life, and by the way, I love hardware stores. I'm not hating on hardware stores. When I reach out to the hardware stores in my life, and for instance, I might reach out to an uncle or my father and be like, hey, I wanted to, why don't we just sit and have a talk? What? Why would we? I got things to do. Do I shut down in that moment or do I shift? Because I think there's an opportunity to shift. If I come into the hardware store and I say, do you sell milk? And they go, no, we don't sell milk. Well, there's an opportunity for me to go, okay, what do you sell? And to explore what they are about. What are you about to do? What are ways, okay, I'm going to need to get milk later on, mental note, let's go find a place, how do I get my milk? It's part of that self-care, it's part of knowing who to populate in your tribe that you can choose that help with that. How to take care of parenting yourself within here. But I can be curious about you. I can give you what I see. I'd like you to know me, and the best way for me to do that, I think, is for me to know you. So if I can be curious in that moment and shift and resist the urge to shut down, I think I open myself up in the same way. It's the same kind of practice as the love languages. Are you familiar with the 5 love languages? It's a book by Gary Chapman, if you haven't read it. It's as ubiquitous as chicken soup used to be, chicken soup for the soul, that after it became successful, so we have chicken soup for your desk, chicken soup for your dog, chicken soup for your car. and the 5 love languages like that, as well it should be. It will change your life if you haven't read it. The essence of it is this. You might be trying to tell people in your life that you love them, but you might be saying it in a way they can't hear, and vice versa. It might be that, for instance, for me, my love languages, top 2, are words of affirmation and physical touch. And I might be pouring words of affirmation on my beloved, whose primary love languages might be quality time. So it doesn't matter. I might be given this much words of affirmation, and she can't hear any of it. And if I get just this much quality time, she feels so loved and seen. It's the same kind of practice we're talking about here. If I can bring curiosity to the people in my life, if I can bring curiosity to get to know the story you are, rather than feeling like I'm threatened because your story is different than mine. If I can bring that, then I can not only deepen our relationship, but I can deepen my experience of my life. How cool, I just got to know something new about the world that I don't see it that way because I'm an entirely different story. I think that the opportunity is to shift from you're so different from me to you're so different from me. And that's I'm not threatened. I'm fully mighty, I'm fully insured, I'm fully unbreakable. And I can have the opportunity to get to know you in this moment. This to me is the logical, sorry, I lost my train of thought. It's the logical extrapolation of that icebreaker moment that I have with my cousin, which is, how do I show up more fully to you as me? How can I change how I'm seeing you by changing how I'm being me, by showing up more fully as me? And I think, by the way, that this isn't just about the people that are out here, because those people are all in here. I have Brian the success in here. I have Brian the failure in here. I have Brian the child in here. Brian the healthy guy. Brian the unhealthy guy. They're all in here. And when I bump into them with discomfort, when they hit me with their shoulds, when they hit me with their judgments, it's an opportunity for me to go, what do you sell? What are you offering? Well, I'm shooting on you because you should be more healthy. Okay, talk to me about that. I'm shooting on you because you're not, this is a dangerous word I'm playing around with. I'm shooting on you because you're not being childlike enough. Okay, more play, I can do that. There's an opportunity for me to reunite the family in my head. And there's an opportunity for me to practice that by practicing how I'm showing up to the family that's out here. The curiosity that I'm bringing is I remember that everybody around me is offering an opportunity to learn. They're offering me a gift. They're offering me a gift to remember that I am mighty, that I am insured, that I am unbreakable, and that I can give what I seek. I don't know what it is to parent, except that I do know what it is to parent my craft, recalcitrant and demanding, waking me in the middle of the night, breaking the spell of rest, then taking my breath with flickers of magic. I don't know what it is to parent, except that I do know what it is to parent a soul full of lost and longing, seeking a voice and a place of its own, threatening to run away if I don't go along, seeming to push me away, and then wrapping me in her arms, letting me belong. I don't know what it is to parent, except that I do know what it is to learn how to starve the emptiness and feed the hunger, to be so wearied as to be more fully awake, to be giving all your love hallowed and true for all that's at stake. I don't know what it is to parent, except that I do know what it is to make it up as you go, to not have a clue what to do or how to know, and still you go, and you go. I don't know what it is to parent, except that I do know what it is to be willing to lay down my life for love of a life. I don't know what it is to parent, except that I do know the endless din of report cards and recitals, concerts and ball fields, the tally of wins and losses, days measured and weighed, the drain of energy and finances, the desperate prayer that it all tallies up to fulfillment of love's desperate prayer for the life you shepherd. Spent and hopeful, wrinkled and lost, trying not to abandon fleeting moments to a longed for lost cause. Someday. Enough of that. I don't know what it is to parent, except that I do. Except that I do. Thank you.